There are moments, rare, undeniable moments, when everything around you seems normal on the surface, yet something deep inside your spirit begins to stir. You can't explain it. You can't logically trace it. But you feel it. A quiet pull. A strange urgency. A whisper that refuses to be ignored. And right now, as you hear these words, that feeling is not random. That feeling is not imagination. That feeling is divine interruption. This is one of those moments. You didn't just click on this by accident. You didn't just stumble here because you were bored, scrolling, or curious. No, something greater moved you. Something unseen aligned this exact second, this exact message, this exact timing just for you. Because heaven knew what was coming. Heaven saw Thursday before you ever thought about it. And heaven said, they must hear this now. Pause for a second and be honest with yourself. Has anything felt off lately? Not necessarily wrong, but different. Like something is shifting beneath the surface. Like conversations feel heavier than usual. Like your thoughts have been louder, your emotions stronger, your intuition sharper, or maybe even more confusing. Like doors are almost opening but not quite. Like something is trying to get your attention but you haven't fully understood what it is yet. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. Because when God is about to move, He doesn't always shout first. He nudges. He stirs. He disrupts your normal just enough to make you look up, just enough to make you question, just enough to make you pause. And right now, that's exactly what is happening in your life. This message is not here to entertain you. It's not here to comfort you in the way you expect. It's here to wake you up. Because Thursday is not just another day. And deep down you already feel that. There's a reason your spirit feels slightly restless. There's a reason certain thoughts keep repeating. There's a reason you've been sensing something you can't quite explain. It's because something has already been set in motion. Something has already begun unfolding in the spiritual realm, and by the time Thursday arrives, it will no longer be hidden. But here's the part that most people miss. When God prepares a moment like this, He always sends a warning before the manifestation. Always. Not to scare you, but to position you. Not to overwhelm you, but to line you. Not to confuse you, but to give you the advantage before everything becomes visible. And that's why this message had to reach you first. Because if you ignore this moment, if you brush this off, if you tell yourself, I'll think about it later, you may walk straight into something you were actually meant to be prepared for. And that's where regret is born. Not from what happened, but from what you were warned about and chose to overlook. Let that sink in. You are not here by chance. You are here because something is trying to reach you before it's too late to respond correctly. And here's the truth that might shake you a little. Some people will never hear this. Some people will scroll past it. Some will ignore it. Some will feel nothing when they see it. But you stop. You listen. You felt something. And that alone separates you from the majority. Because when heaven selects someone for awareness, it's not random. It's intentional. Right now, you are standing at the edge of something you cannot fully see yet. Something that will unfold whether you're ready or not. But the difference between confusion and clarity, between loss and alignment, between regret and reward, will come down to one thing. Did you listen when you were called? This is that call. Not tomorrow. Not later. Not when you feel like it. Now. Because Thursday is approaching, and what unfolds on the day will reveal whether you were prepared or distracted. So don't rush past this. Don't let your mind wander. Don't treat this like just another message. Let it settle into your spirit. Because this right here is the beginning of something far bigger than you realize. And what comes next will explain why. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message reaching your spirit. Blessing code 1414 is now surrounding you. There are days and then there are days. Days that look the same on the calendar, yet carry a weight in the spirit that cannot be measured by time alone. Thursday is not just another passing moment in your week. It is not just a routine day filled with tasks and predictable rhythms. No, Thursday has already been marked. Not by human plans, not by coincidence, but by divine timing that was set long before you became aware of it. You may be wondering, why Thursday? What makes this day different from all the others that came before it? And that question itself is part of the awakening. Because when God begins to highlight a specific moment, it is never random. It is intentional. It is precise. It is strategic. Thursday hath been circled in the unseen realm, not with ink, but with purpose. Something hath been building toward it. Something has been aligning behind the scenes. And whether you realize it or not, your life has been quietly moving in that direction. Think back over the past few days, or even weeks. Have you noticed patterns that didn't make sense at the time? Delays that frustrated you? Conversations that lingered in your mind longer than they should have? Feelings that came out of nowhere? Moments where you felt like you were being slowed down, or even redirected without understanding why? Those were not interruptions. Those were adjustments. Heaven has been repositioning you, step by step, thought by thought, decision by decision, leading you closer to this very moment. Because Thursday is not just about what will happen externally. It is about what will be revealed internally. There is a shift that is preparing to surface, and it will touch areas of your life that have been waiting for clarity. What was hidden will begin to show itself. What was uncertain will start to take shape. What felt delayed will suddenly make sense. But here is the truth you must understand. The outcome of that day will depend on your awareness before it arrives. This is where the urgency comes in. Most people walk into significant moments unprepared. They react instead of recognizing. They respond emotionally instead of spiritually. They miss the meaning because they were not paying attention beforehand. And by the time they realize what the moment carried, it has already passed. That is where regret begins to take root. Not because the opportunity was never there, but because the awareness came too late. But you are being given something different right now. You are being given insight before the moment. You are being given clarity before the unfolding. You are being awakened before the shift becomes visible. And that is not something to take lightly. That is an advantage that many never receive. Thursday carries a dual nature. It has the power to elevate or to expose. It can open doors or reveal what needs to be closed. It can bring confirmation or confrontation. And for some, it will feel like a breakthrough. For others, it may feel like disruption. But in truth, both are expressions of the same thing, divine movement. You must not enter that day casually. You must not approach it distracted, overwhelmed, or disconnected from your inner awareness. Because what unfolds will require you to be present, to be grounded, to be able to discern what is happening beyond the surface. This is not about fear. This is about preparation. There is something else you need to hear, and it is important. Not everything that happens on Thursday will look significant at first. In fact, some of it may appear small, almost easy to overlook. A conversation, a decision, a sudden realization, a change in direction. But these moments will carry deeper meaning than they seem. They will be turning points disguised as ordinary experiences. And if you are not paying attention, You may dismiss what was actually meant to guide you. This is why your spirit has been stirred. This is why this message reached you now, before the day arrives. Because once Thursday begins, things will move quickly. Energy will shift. Clarity will rise. And you will be faced with moments that require immediate recognition, not delayed understanding. You are not being warned because something bad is coming. You are being prepared because something important is coming. There is a difference. And how you receive this will determine how you experience what unfolds. So begin to quiet your mind. Begin to observe more closely. Begin to listen not just to words but to what is beneath them. Pay attention to how you feel, to what stands out, to what repeats. Because these are not random signals. They are guidance. Thursday is already in motion. And as it approaches, the question is no longer whether something will happen. The question is whether you will recognize it when it does. Type I am alert in the comments if you are preparing your spirit. Blessing code 2222 is now activated around you. There is a difference between hearing and truly listening. A difference between seeing and truly recognizing. And right now, you are standing in a moment where that difference matters more than ever before. Because what is being placed in front of you is not casual information. It is not something to revisit later. It is not something you can afford to delay. This is a warning. Clear, direct, intentional. And the weight of it is not meant to scare you, but to awaken you to the reality of what happens when a moment like this is ignored. You have to understand something deeply. Regret does not arrive loudly. It does not announce itself in advance. It forms quietly, in the background, through small decisions that felt insignificant at the time. It grows in the spaces where you said, "I'll deal with this later," or "This probably doesn't apply to me," or "I don't feel like thinking about this right now." And by the time the realization comes, the window has already shifted. The moment has already passed. And what could have been clarity becomes confusion. This is why the warning is here now. Because Thursday is not just a day of unfolding. It is also a day of consequence. Not punishment but outcome. A reflection of preparation versus distraction. Awareness versus avoidance. Alignment versus delay. And the truth is, many people will walk into the day unprepared. Not because they were incapable, but because they chose not to pay attention when they had the chance. But you are not being placed in that position. You are being given the opportunity to respond before the moment arrives. Still, there is a tension here that you must not ignore. A part of you may feel resistance even now. A subtle voice that says, "This is too intense," or "You're overthinking," or "You can come back to this later." That voice is not random. It is the same pattern that has caused missed opportunities before. It is the same hesitation that has delayed clarity in past situations. And if you listen to it again now, it will lead you down the same path. You have seen this pattern before, haven't you? Moments where you felt something strongly, but you dismissed it. Times where you sensed a shift, but you ignored it. Situations where you knew you needed to pay attention, but you chose comfort instead. And later, when everything unfolded, you looked back and said, "I knew something was off," or "I should have listened." This is not that moment again. This is the moment where you break that cycle. Because the truth is, ignoring this will not stop Thursday from arriving. It will not delay what is already in motion. It will not change what is about to unfold. It will only change your level of readiness when it does. And that is where regret begins to take shape. Not because something happened to you, but because you were not aligned when it did. There are things that only become clear when you are prepared beforehand. There are signs that only make sense when your awareness is active. And there are decisions that must be made in real time, without hesitation, without confusion, without second guessing. That is what Thursday carries. Moments that require clarity in the present, not understanding in hindsight. And if you are not ready, those moments will pass you by unnoticed. But if you are ready, they will become turning points. This is why the warning cannot be softened. This is why it cannot be delayed. Because the stakes are not visible yet, but they are real. Something is aligning that will require you to recognize truth quickly, to respond with intention, to move with awareness. And if you hesitate, if you doubt yourself, if you allow distraction to take over, you may miss what was meant to guide you forward. This is not about fear. This is about responsibility. You have been given awareness. Now you must choose what to do with it. You cannot unknow what you feel right now. You cannot pretend this message did not reach you. You cannot say you were not warned. And that is what makes this moment powerful. Because from this point forward, your response matters. Will you stay present? Will you remain aware? Will you carry this understanding into the next moments of your life? Or will you let it fade, like so many other signals that tried to reach you before? The choice is yours. But understand this clearly. The difference between regret and alignment is often decided in moments like this. Quiet moments. Personal moments. Moments where no one else is watching but everything is shifting internally. This is one of those moments. Do not let it pass you by. Type "I will not miss this" in the comments if you choose awareness. Lesson code 3333 is now surrounding your path. And as this truth settles into your spirit, understand this: every time a message like this reaches you, it is not just for you alone. There are others still wandering in confusion, still missing their moment, still waiting for a light to reach them in their darkness. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are sowing into souls. You are becoming part of the light that finds them before their moment passes. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And right now, that promise is alive, calling you into action. I feel this deeply. I am being moved to help this message reach someone who needs it before Thursday arrives. This is not just generosity. This is obedience in motion. What you release today will return multiplied, opening doors you did not even know were waiting. Step into this moment. Sow with intention. And watch how heaven responds. There are battles you recognize, and then there are battles that remain hidden beneath the surface, shaping outcomes before you even realize they exist. And right now, you are standing in the middle of one of those unseen conflicts. Not everything influencing your life is visible. Not everything affecting your emotions, your thoughts, your decisions can be traced back to something obvious. There are layers to what is happening around you, and if you only look at what is in front of you, you will miss what is truly shaping your path. This is where many people become confused. They try to make sense of everything through what they can see, what they can hear, what they can logically explain. But the truth is, some of the most significant shifts in your life begin in places you cannot immediately detect. They begin quietly, subtly, without announcement. And by the time they reach the surface, they have already influenced the direction of your thoughts, your reactions, and your choices. Something like that is happening now. You may have noticed small tensions that don't fully make sense. Moments where your energy feels slightly off without a clear reason. Interactions that leave you questioning more than usual. Situations that seem simple on the outside, yet carry a weight you can't explain. These are not random experiences. They are signals, indicators that something deeper is unfolding behind the scenes. But here is where it becomes important. Not every battle is meant to be fought outwardly. Some are meant to be understood inwardly. Because what you are facing is not just about people, circumstances, or surface-level events. It is about influence, direction, alignment. There are forces at work that aim to pull your focus, to distract your awareness, to keep you operating at a level where you react instead of recognize. And if that happens, you will move through Thursday responding to situations instead of understanding them. That is how hidden battles win. They do not overpower you directly. They misguide you subtly. They cause you to second-guess your intuition. They make you dismiss your inner signals. They push you toward emotional reactions instead of clear observation. And once that happens, you begin to move without awareness, which leads to decisions that feel right in the moment but create confusion later. You have experienced this before. Moments where you reacted quickly, only to realize later that something deeper was happening. Situations where you trusted the surface, only to discover there was more beneath it. Times when you felt something internally, but ignored it, choosing instead to follow what seemed easier or more comfortable. And afterward, clarity came, but it came too late to change the initial response. This is not that moment again. This is the moment where you become aware of the deeper layer before it fully reveals itself. Because as Thursday approaches, this hidden battle will not remain hidden forever. It will begin to surface, not all at once, but in pieces. Through interaction, through realization, through shifts in how situations unfold. And if you are not aware of the deeper layer, you may misinterpret what you see. You may think something is against you, when in reality it is being revealed for your benefit. You may believe a situation is negative, when it is actually redirecting you. You may feel tension and assume it is conflict, when it is actually exposure of something that needed to be seen. This is why awareness is everything right now. You must begin to look beyond the obvious, beyond the immediate, beyond the first reaction that comes to your mind. Because what unfolds next will require you to pause, to observe, to interpret with clarity instead of assumption. There is another truth you need to understand. Hidden battles often intensify right before a shift. Not because something is going wrong, but because something is about to change. And when change approaches, anything that cannot move forward with you begins to resist. That resistance can appear as confusion, as distraction, as emotional weight, as unexpected tension. But it is not there to stop you. It is there to test whether you will remain grounded in awareness or fall back into reaction. You are being prepared to pass that test. Right now, your role is not to fight everything you feel. It is to understand what you feel. To separate what is real from what is reactive. To recognize when something is trying to pull your attention away from what truly matters. Because Thursday will not just reveal external events. It will reveal internal clarity. And the more grounded you are now, the clearer that revelation will be. So slow down. Observe more. React less. Trust the signals you feel, but do not rush to interpret them without awareness. Let things unfold, but stay present within them. Because what you haven't seen yet is already beginning to show itself. And when it does, your awareness will determine whether you feel overwhelmed or empowered. Type ISE beyond the surface in the comments if you are choosing clarity. Lesson code 4444 is now aligning your awareness. There is something you need to hear clearly in this moment. Something that may shift the way you've been seeing your recent experiences. You have not been without guidance. You have not been left in silence. You have not been moving through these days alone, trying to figure everything out on your own. The truth is, God has been speaking to you this entire time. Not always in ways you expected. Not always in ways that were easy to recognize. But the voice has been there, steady, consistent, trying to reach you through layers of noise, distraction, and overthinking. And now, as Thursday approaches, that voice is becoming more urgent. Think back carefully. There have been moments recently where something inside you told you to pause, but you kept going. Times when you felt a subtle nudge to pay attention, but you brushed it off. Situations where you sensed something wasn't quite right, yet you chose to ignore it because it was easier than confronting it. Those were not random thoughts. Those were not coincidences. Those were signals. Quiet instructions trying to guide you before things became more visible. But here's what often happens. When the voice is not loud, people assume it is not important. When the message is subtle, people assume it can wait. When the guidance comes as a feeling instead of a clear command, people second-guess it. And slowly, without realizing it, they begin to disconnect from the very direction they were asking for. You may not have intended to ignore it. You may not have even realized it was happening. But over time, distractions have a way of building up. Noise from daily life, constant thoughts, external opinions, emotional reactions. All of it creates a layer that makes it harder to hear clearly. And yet, despite all of that, the voice never stopped. It continued through repetition, through patterns, through moments that felt familiar, like you had been there before, through thoughts that returned again and again, refusing to fade completely, through feelings that lingered longer than they should have, through situations that seemed small, but stayed on your mind in a way that didn't make sense. That was not random persistence. That was intentional communication. Because when God speaks, He does not always force your attention. He invites it. He places the message in front of you, again and again, until you are ready to truly hear it. And right now, you are being brought back to that place of awareness. The question is no longer whether guidance has been given. The question is whether you are ready to recognize it now. As Thursday gets closer, the clarity of that voice will increase. Not necessarily by becoming louder, but by becoming clearer to you. Things that once felt confusing will start to make sense. Thoughts that seem uncertain will begin to align. Feelings that you questioned will start to feel grounded. But this clarity depends on something very important. You must create space to hear it. If your mind is constantly racing, you will miss it. If you are always reacting, you will overlook it. If you fill every moment with distraction, you will not recognize when the voice is guiding you. This is not about doing more. It is about becoming still enough to notice what has already been present. There is also something deeper you need to understand. Sometimes the voice you've been missing is not absent, it is simply being overshadowed by other voices. Doubt, fear, overanalysis, a need for immediate certainty, the desire for things to make sense right away. These voices can become so loud that they drown out the quiet clarity that was trying to guide you all along. And when that happens, you begin to rely more on reaction than on direction. But now, that is shifting. You are being pulled back into alignment, back into a place where you can hear without distortion, back into a state where you can recognize guidance without needing it to be overwhelming or dramatic. Because the truth is, the most important directions are often the simplest ones. The ones that come quietly, but carry a sense of certainty when you allow yourself to feel them fully. As Thursday approaches, you will be given moments where that voice becomes undeniable. You will feel it in your decisions, in your responses, in the way certain things stand out to you more than others. And in those moments, you must trust what you recognize. Do not override it with doubt. Do not delay it with hesitation. Do not replace it with external noise. Because what you have been waiting for has already been trying to reach you. Now is the time to listen. Not later. Not after everything unfolds. Now, before the moment arrives. Because when you begin to truly hear, everything else starts to align. And what once felt uncertain becomes clear. Type "I hear the voice" in the comments if you are choosing to listen. Lesson code 5555 is now opening your clarity. There is something you must come to terms with in this moment, something that may feel heavy at first, but will ultimately bring clarity to everything you've been sensing. You were not randomly led here. You were not accidentally positioned to hear this message before Thursday. Out of all the moments, all the distractions, all the paths your attention could have taken, you were guided here with intention. And that is because there is an assignment on your life that requires awareness at this exact time. You may not have always seen yourself this way. You may have questioned your direction, your purpose, even your significance in certain moments. There may have been times where you felt overlooked, uncertain, were disconnected from what you thought your path should look like. But what you did not see was that even in those moments, you were being shaped, prepared, positioned, quietly aligned for something that would require a different level of awareness than before. Because not everyone is meant to recognize moments like this. Not everyone feels the shift before it becomes obvious. Not everyone senses when something is about to change. Many people move through life reacting only to what is directly in front of them, never realizing that there are deeper layers influencing their path. But you have felt those layers, even when you could not explain them, even when you doubted yourself, even when you tried to ignore them. Something in you has always been sensitive to what lies beneath the surface. That sensitivity is not a weakness. It is part of your assignment. You were chosen to notice what others overlook, to feel what others dismiss, to pause where others rush. And right now, that ability is being activated in a stronger way than before. Because what is about to unfold on Thursday will require more than surface-level awareness. It will require discernment, presence, the ability to recognize meaning in moments that may appear ordinary to everyone else. This is why your journey has felt the way it has. The delays you experienced were not just obstacles. They were calibrations. The confusion you felt was not just uncertainty. It was a process of learning how to navigate without relying on immediate clarity. The moments where things did not make sense were training you to stay grounded even when answers were not visible. All of it was preparation. Because when someone is meant to carry awareness, they cannot rely only on what is obvious. They must learn to trust what they feel, even when it is not fully explained yet. They must learn to observe without reacting immediately. They must learn to hold their focus even when distractions try to pull them away. That is where you are now, standing at a point where your awareness matters more than ever before. But here is something important you need to understand. Being chosen does not mean everything will feel easy. It does not mean you will always feel confident. It does not mean you will never question yourself. In fact, the opposite is often true. Because when you are meant to see deeper, you will also feel more. You will notice shifts others ignore. You will sense tension others dismiss. And sometimes, that can feel overwhelming if you do not understand why it is happening. But now you are beginning to understand. You are not here to carry confusion. You are here to move through it with clarity. You are not here to be pulled in every direction. You are here to remain centered when things around you shift. You are not here to react impulsively. You are here to recognize what matters before acting. That is your assignment in this moment. And as Thursday approaches, you will be placed in situations that reflect that role. Moments where you will need to pause instead of rushing. Moments where you will need to observe instead of assuming. Moments where your awareness will guide you more accurately than any external explanation. Trust that. Because what sets you apart right now is not what you do, it is how you see. And how you see will determine how you move. There is one more thing you need to hear. Being chosen for awareness also means being responsible for it. You cannot ignore what you now understand. You cannot return to the same patterns of distraction or delay without feeling the difference. Because once awareness increases, so does responsibility. Not as a burden, but as a natural shift in how you operate. You are no longer at the level where you can say, "I didn't know." Now, you know enough to recognize when something matters. And Thursday will test that awareness, not to challenge you in a negative way, but to confirm that you are ready to move differently than before. To show you that you can trust what you recognize. To prove that you can remain aligned even when things begin to shift quickly. This is not pressure. This is positioning. You have been placed here, in this moment, with this understanding, for a reason. And as everything begins to unfold, that reason will become clearer. But for now, hold on to this truth. You were chosen to be aware before the moment arrives. And that awareness is your advantage. Type "I accept the assignment" in the comments if you are stepping into this awareness. Blessing code 6666 is now strengthening your path. There is a pattern that has followed you longer than you may realize. Not loud, not obvious, but consistent. It shows up in the quiet moments, in the small decisions, in the subtle hesitation that whispers, "You can do this later." It does not demand your attention. It gently pulls it away. It does not force you off track. It slowly shifts your focus until you no longer recognize where you were meant to be. That pattern is delay. And right now, as Thursday approaches, that pattern is making one final attempt to take hold of your awareness. Delay is not always resistance in the way you expect. It does not always feel like opposition. Sometimes it feels like comfort, like rest, like distraction, like something harmless that can wait. And that is what makes it dangerous. Because by the time you realize what it has done, the moment that required your attention has already passed. The opportunity to respond with clarity has already moved forward without you. You have seen this before. Times where you felt something important, but postponed your response. Moments where you knew you needed to act, but convinced yourself there was more time. Situations where your awareness was present, but your action was delayed. And later, when everything unfolded, you looked back and recognized that the delay itself was the reason you felt out of alignment. This is not coincidence. This is a pattern that repeats until it is broken. And right now, it is being presented to you one more time, just before a moment that actually matters. Because the closer you get to something significant, the stronger the pull toward distraction becomes. Not because you are weak, but because your attention becomes more valuable. The more important the moment, the more subtle the attempts to shift your focus away from it. And if you are not aware of that, you may mistake distraction for normalcy. You may treat delay as something harmless. You may allow your awareness to fade just enough that when Thursday arrives, you are present physically but not mentally aligned. That is how the trap works. It does not remove you from the moment completely. It simply lowers your level of awareness within it. And that is enough. Because when your awareness drops, your clarity follows. When your clarity fades, your decisions become reactive instead of intentional. And when that happens, you move through the moment without recognizing what it was meant to show you. But here is the shift. You are not aware anymore. You can already feel the pull, can't you? The subtle urge to move on quickly. The thought that this can wait. The idea that you will remember this later without needing to fully absorb it now. That is the pattern trying to repeat itself. That is the same mechanism that has caused misalignment in the past. But now, you are seeing it as it happens. And that changes everything. Because once you recognize the pattern, you are no longer controlled by it. You have the ability to pause, to stay present, to hold your attention where it needs to be instead of letting it drift. And that is what breaks the cycle. There is something else you need to understand. Delay does not always come from external distractions. Sometimes it comes from internal hesitation, overthinking, doubt, the need to fully understand everything before taking a step, the desire to feel completely certain before acting. And while those may seem reasonable, they can also create the same outcome as distraction. They slow your response just enough that the moment passes without full engagement. And Thursday will not wait for hesitation. It will unfold in real time. It will present moments that require immediate awareness. And if you are caught in delay, whether external or internal, you may miss what those moments were trying to show you. This is why the urgency is here now. Not to rush you into panic, but to anchor you into presence. To remind you that this is not a time to drift. Not a time to postpone your awareness. Not a time to fall back into patterns that have already shown you their outcome. This is a time to stay with what you feel. To remain focused even when distractions appear. To trust that your awareness in this moment is preparing you for what comes next. Because the truth is simple. You are not being asked to do something complicated. You are being asked to remain present. To hold your attention where it matters. To resist the subtle pull of delay and stay connected to what you already recognize. And if you do that, the trap will not hold you. It will pass by you. And you will move into Thursday with clarity instead of confusion. This is the final attempt to pull you away from alignment. Do not let it succeed. Stay here. Stay aware. Stay present. Because what comes next requires it. Type I reject delay in the comments if you are choosing presence. Blessing code 7777 is now anchoring your focus. Something has already started. Not on Thursday, not when everything becomes visible, but now, in this very moment, as you listen, as you feel, as you begin to recognize that something deeper is unfolding. The shift you have been sensing is not waiting for a specific day to begin. It has already been set into motion. Quietly, gradually, beneath the surface of your awareness. And the reason you are being drawn into this message now is because that shift is reaching a point where it can no longer remain hidden. This is why things have felt different lately. Not dramatically, not in a way that you could easily explain to someone else, but internally something has been adjusting. Your thoughts have not been moving the same way. Your reactions have been changing. Situations that once felt simple now carry more weight, more meaning. You have been noticing things you might have overlooked before, feeling things more deeply, questioning things more carefully. That is not confusion. That is transition. Because before a visible shift happens externally, it always begins internally. Your awareness is the first place where change takes root. Your perception begins to evolve. Your sensitivity increases. Your ability to notice patterns becomes sharper. And all of this happens before anything outwardly confirms it. That is the phase you are in right now. But here is where many people misunderstand what is happening. When the shift begins internally, it can feel uncomfortable. It can feel uncertain. It can feel like something is off, even though nothing has clearly changed yet. And in the discomfort, people often try to return to what feels familiar. They try to stabilize themselves by ignoring the shift, by distracting themselves, by convincing themselves that nothing is really happening. But that is where the mistake is made, because the discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is changing. And if you resist it, you delay your alignment with what is coming. If you lean into it, you prepare yourself for it. Right now, you are being given the opportunity to align with the shift before it fully manifests. To adjust your awareness, your mindset, your focus so that when Thursday arrives, you are not trying to catch up. You are already in position. This is what makes this moment powerful, because what begins before Thursday will determine how you experience Thursday. If you ignore the internal shift, the external unfolding may feel overwhelming, unexpected, confuse you. But if you recognize the internal shift now, the external events will feel like confirmation, like clarity, like pieces finally coming together in a way that makes sense. There is also something else you need to notice. The shift is not just happening within you. It is happening around you. Energy in your environment is adjusting. Dynamics are beginning to change. Conversations are subtly shifting. Patterns that once felt stable are starting to move. You may not see it clearly yet, but you can feel it. The atmosphere is not the same as it was before. And as Thursday approaches, these changes will become more visible. But again, visibility is not where it begins. It begins with awareness. This is why your role right now is not to force anything, not to try to control what is happening, not to rush into conclusions. Your role is to observe, to stay grounded, to allow the shift to unfold while maintaining your clarity within it. Because when you try to control a shift, you create resistance. When you observe a shift, you create alignment. And alignment is what you need as this moment approaches. There will be moments between now and Thursday where things will feel more intense, where your awareness will heighten even further, where certain realizations will come to the surface. Do not ignore those moments. Do not dismiss them. They are part of the transition, part of the preparation, part of the unfolding that is leading you exactly where you need to be. This is not something you need to fear. This is something you need to recognize. Because what is shifting is not here to disrupt you. It is here to position you. And the more you stay present within it, the more clearly you will see what it is revealing. You are not waiting for Thursday. You are moving toward it, already in motion, already aligning, already shifting into the awareness that will allow you to recognize what unfolds when the moment arrives. Stay with that, because the shift has already begun, and you are already part of it. Type "I move with the shift" in the comments if you feel this alignment. Blessing code 8888 is now activating your transition. As this shift begins to settle within you, understand this truth: what you are receiving right now is not meant to stay with you alone. There are others standing at the edge of their moment, unaware, unprepared, waiting for light to reach them before it is too late. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a voice, you are releasing a seed into the lives of those who are still searching. The word declares, "Those who sow in faith shall reap in abundance," and right now, that promise is calling you into action. I feel it clearly. I am stepping forward to help this message reach someone before their Thursday arrives. This is not just generosity, this is alignment with purpose. What you release today becomes a doorway for another soul to find clarity. Step into this moment. So with intention. And watch how heaven multiplies it back into your life. Everything have been leading to this point. Not just the message you are hearing now, not just the shift you have been feeling, not just the awareness that has been growing within you, but every small moment that brought you here. Every hesitation, every realization, every time you sensed something deeper but could not fully explain it. All of it has been guiding you toward a single reality. There comes a moment where awareness is no longer enough. A moment where you must decide what you will do with what you now understand. This is that moment. Because as Thursday approaches, you will not just observe what unfolds, you will be part of it. And how you move within it will depend on the decision you make right now, before anything becomes visible. Not later, not when everything is clear, not when it feels easier. Now, while the shift is still internal, while the awareness is still forming, while you still have the space to choose your posture before the moment demands your response. This is where many people fall back into old patterns. They wait for certainty. They wait for confirmation. They wait until they feel completely ready. But by the time they reach that point, the moment has already passed them by. Because moments like this are not designed to be met with hesitation. They are designed to be met with alignment. And alignment is a choice. Right now, you are being asked to choose how you will show up when Thursday arrives. Will you be present, aware, grounded in what you have already recognized? Or will you allow distraction, doubt, and delay to pull you back into reaction? That choice does not happen on Thursday. It happens now. You must decide to stay aware. You must decide to trust what you feel, even if you cannot fully explain it yet. You must decide to observe instead of react, to pause instead of rush, to listen instead of assume. These are not complicated actions, but they require intention. They require you to step out of autopilot and move with awareness instead of habit. There is something else you need to understand. The decision you make now will shape how you interpret what unfolds later. Two people can experience the same moment and walk away with completely different outcomes. One sees confusion. The other sees clarity. One feels overwhelmed. The other feels guided. The difference is not in the moment itself. It is in the awareness they carried into it. That is what you are choosing right now. You are choosing whether you will enter Thursday with clarity or confusion. Whether you will recognize what is being revealed or overlook it. Whether you will move intentionally or react impulsively. And that choice will not be made in the heat of the moment. It is being made here, in this quiet space, where you are aware enough to decide before everything accelerates. You may feel a subtle resistance as you hear this. A part of you that wants to delay the decision. That wants to keep things open, undefined, flexible. That is the same pattern that has created uncertainty in the past. The same hesitation that has led to missed clarity before. And if you follow it again now, you will repeat the same outcome. But you are not here to repeat patterns. You are here to shift them. This is your opportunity to move differently. To respond with awareness instead of delay. To choose presence instead of distraction. To step into alignment before the moment requires it. And the truth is, the decision itself is simple. You do not need to figure everything out. You do not need to predict what will happen. You do not need to control the outcome. You only need to commit to staying aware, to staying present, to staying connected to what you already feel and recognize. That is enough. Because when you are aligned internally, the external moments begin to make sense as they unfold. You do not need to force clarity. It reveals itself. You do not need to chase understanding. It comes naturally when you are present within the moment. This is why the decision matters now. Because once Thursday begins, everything will move faster. There will be less space to pause and reflect, less time to reconsider, less opportunity to go back and adjust your awareness. You will be in it, moving through it, responding in real time. And how you respond will reflect the decision you made here. So take this moment seriously, not with fear but with intention. Let this awareness settle into you. Let it anchor you. Let it guide how you move from this point forward. Because what you choose now will shape what you experience next. This is your moment of decision. Do not overlook it. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you are making this decision now. Blessing code 9999 is now sealing your focus. There are things you have been carrying that were never meant to move forward with you. Not because you chose them, not because you invited them, but because over time, they attached themselves quietly. Patterns that repeated without explanation. Thoughts that lingered longer than they should have. Emotional weight that came and went, yet never fully left. Situations that seemed to circle back just when you thought you had moved past them. And without realizing it, you adapted to them. You learned how to function with them. You told yourself, "This is just how things are." But that is not how things were meant to remain. Because what is unfolding now is not just about awareness, or preparation, or even the decision you have made. It is about release. A separation between what belongs to your next phase and what does not. And as Thursday approaches, that separation will begin to take place in ways you may not expect, but will ultimately recognize. This is the breaking of chains. Not in a dramatic, overwhelming way. Not all at once, but in precise moments where something that once held weight suddenly no longer does. Where something that once caused confusion becomes clear. Where something that once felt necessary reveals itself as something you have outgrown. And when that happens, you will feel it. There will be a lightness where there was once pressure. A clarity where there was once uncertainty. A sense of movement where there was once resistance. And you may not immediately understand why, but you will recognize that something has shifted. Because what is being removed is not random. It is specific. It is the pattern that caused hesitation when you needed to act. The doubt that made you question what you already felt. The attachment to outcomes that kept you from staying present. The habit of overthinking that delayed your clarity. The subtle distractions that pulled your attention away at the wrong moments. These are the chains, and they do not break by force. They break by awareness. You have already begun that process. By recognizing what you feel, by staying present, by choosing alignment, you have weakened what once held you in place. And now, as everything begins to unfold, those weakened patterns will no longer have the same influence they once did. But here is something important you must understand. When something is released, there is often a moment where it tries to return. Not because it is stronger, but because it is familiar. You may notice old thoughts trying to reappear, old reactions trying to resurface, old habits attempting to pull your attention back into the same cycle. That is not a sign that nothing has changed. It is a final echo of what is being removed. And in that moment, you will have a choice. To fall back into what is familiar or to move forward into what is aligned. That choice will define the break. Because chains are not just broken externally. They are broken through the decision not to return to them when given the chance. This is why your awareness remains important even as things begin to shift. Because what is being removed will not be forced out of your life without your participation. You must recognize it when it shows itself. You must allow it to pass instead of holding on to it. You must trust that what feels unfamiliar may actually be the space created for something better to take its place, and that space will not remain empty. What is removed creates room for something new. Clarity where there was confusion. Direction where there was hesitation. Stability where there was emotional fluctuation. Confidence where there was doubt. These are not things you need to chase. They are things that naturally emerge when what was blocking them is no longer present. This is what Thursday begins to reveal. Not just what is happening around you, but what is no longer holding you back within you. And when you recognize that, everything begins to shift. You will move differently. Not because you are trying to change, but because the weight that once influenced you is no longer there. Your responses will become clearer. Your decisions more grounded. Your awareness more stable. And you will look back and realize what once felt permanent was never meant to stay. This is the breaking. Not loud, not forced, but undeniable. And as it unfolds, you will understand that what is leaving your life is not loss. It is release. And what remains is alignment. Type "I release what no longer serves me" in the comments if you are ready for this shift. Blessing code 1010 is now activating your freedom. There is something waiting for you on the other side of this moment, something that cannot be fully seen yet, but can already be felt if you are paying close enough attention. It is not loud. It is not overwhelming. But it is steady. It is present. And it has been drawing closer with every step you have taken in awareness. Because what follows release, what follows alignment, what follows the breaking of what once held you back is not emptiness. It is not uncertainty. It is not loss. It is blessing. But not in the way you may have expected. Because the blessing that awaits you is not just about external change. It is not just about circumstances shifting in visible ways. It is deeper than that. It is the kind of shift that begins within you and then reflects outward into everything you experience. It is clarity that does not need to be forced. It is direction that does not need to be chased. It is a sense of grounding that does not depend on everything around you being perfect. This is what awaits you. A different way of moving through your life. You will begin to notice it in small ways at first. The way your thoughts settle more quickly. The way your reactions become more measured. The way situations that once overwhelmed you now feel manageable. The way decisions that once felt complicated now feel simple. Not because everything has changed around you, but because something has shifted within you. That is the true blessing. Because when your internal state changes, everything you encounter begins to align differently. You no longer respond from confusion. You no longer hesitate from doubt. You no longer carry the same weight into every situation. And because of that, your path begins to open in ways that were not accessible before. This is what many people misunderstand. They look for the blessing only in visible outcomes, in immediate results, in clear, undeniable changes that they can point to and say, "This is it." But the real blessing begins before any of it becomes visible. It begins in the way you see, the way you think, the way you respond. And once that foundation is set, the external changes follow naturally. You are stepping into that foundation now, because everything you have experienced leading up to this moment has been preparing you for it. The awareness, the decision, the release, all of it has been clearing the path for what comes next. And what comes next is not something you need to force. It is something you will begin to notice unfolding as you remain aligned. There is also something else you need to understand. The blessing on the other side is not just about what you gain. It is also about what you no longer have to carry. The absence of confusion is a blessing. The removal of constant doubt is a blessing. The ability to move without overthinking every step is a blessing. These may not seem dramatic at first, but they change everything about how you experience your life. And as Thursday unfolds, you will begin to see glimpses of this. Moments where things feel clear without effort. Situations where your response comes naturally instead of being forced. Interactions where you understand what is happening without needing to analyze it repeatedly. These are signs that the shift has taken place, that you have moved into alignment with what was waiting for you. But here is the key. You must allow yourself to receive it. Do not question it when clarity comes. Do not doubt it when things feel easier. Do not look for complications where simplicity is being offered. Because sometimes, when people have been used to carrying weight, they struggle to trust what it feels like to move without it. But this is where you are now. Stepping into a space where things do not have to feel as heavy as they once did. Where your awareness supports you instead of overwhelming you. Where your decisions feel grounded instead of uncertain. This is the blessing. And it has been moving toward you just as much as you have been moving toward it. So as everything continues to unfold, stay present within it. Do not rush ahead. Do not try to define everything immediately. Let the clarity settle. Let the alignment strengthen. Let the shift reveal itself fully in its own time. Because what is waiting for you is not temporary. It is a new way of experiencing what comes next. And once you step into it, you will not want to return to where you were before. This is what awaits you on the other side. Not just change, but alignment that stays. Type I receive the blessing in the comments if you are ready to step into this. Blessing code 1111 is now activating your next phase. Is it? Not just another message. Not just another moment of reflection. Not just another passing feeling that fades when you move on to the next thing. This is the final call. The point where everything you have heard, everything you have felt, everything that has been building within you comes together into one clear truth. You cannot afford to miss this moment. Because Thursday is no longer something distant. It is here. Right at the edge of your awareness. Right within reach of your decisions. Right in front of the version of you that has been prepared through every section of this journey. And now, the question is no longer whether you understand what is coming. The question is whether you will stay aligned when it arrives. This is where everything becomes real. Not in theory. Not in thought. But in action. In presence. In the way you carry yourself when the moment unfolds. Because what has been revealed to you was not given so you could simply feel something. It was given so you could move differently. You have been warned. You have been prepared. You have been brought into awareness before the unfolding. And that changes everything. Because most people will step into Thursday without this clarity. They will react to what happens instead of recognizing it. They will feel overwhelmed instead of grounded. They will question instead of understand. And by the time they realize what the moment carried, it will already be behind them. But you stand in a different position now. You stand with awareness. You stand with preparation. You stand with the ability to recognize what others will overlook. And that is your responsibility. Do not shrink back into distraction now. Do not return to delay now. Do not allow doubt to re-enter after everything you have just received. Because this is the moment where alignment must be maintained, not reconsidered. You may feel a pull to relax your focus, to treat this as something that has already passed, to assume that you will remember everything when the time comes. But that is the final test. Will you stay present or will you drift? Because drift is easy. It is comfortable. It requires no effort. But it leads to the same outcome you have already outgrown. And you did not come this far to return to that pattern. Stay here. Stay grounded in what you now know. Carry this awareness with you into the next hours, into the next interactions, into the next thoughts that try to pull your attention away. Because alignment is not something you choose once. It is something you maintain. And as Thursday unfolds, you will feel the difference. Moments will stand out to you that others ignore. Signals will become clear to you that others dismiss. You will sense what is happening beneath the surface while others only see what is obvious. And in those moments, you will realize why this message had to reach you first. This was not just preparation. This was positioning. You have been placed exactly where you need to be, at exactly the right time, with exactly the awareness required to move forward without confusion. And what happens next will confirm that. But only if you stay present. Only if you stay aware. Only if you honor what has been given to you here. Because the truth is simple. You will either look back at this moment and say, "I'm glad I listened," or you will look back and say, "I felt it but I didn't stay with it." Let this be the moment where you choose the first. Let this be the moment where you remain aligned all the way through. Let this be the moment you do not miss. Because what unfolds on Thursday will not wait, and neither should your awareness. Type "I will not miss my moment" in the comments if you are staying aligned. Blessing code 1212 is now sealing your alignment. And now, as this final call settles into your spirit, understand this sacred truth: what reached you today was not meant to stop with you. There are souls standing at the edge of their Thursday, unaware, unprepared, still waiting for a voice to find them before their moment passes. When you release your support through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel, you are sowing light into someone else's darkness. The Lord declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, and it shall return unto you." And this is that moment of release. I feel this deeply. I am stepping into obedience, helping this message reach the one who is about to miss their divine timing. This is not a donation, this is a prophetic act that opens doors over your life. What you give now will echo in ways you cannot yet see, returning multiplied, restoring, expanding, and aligning your path. Step forward. Sow with purpose, and let heaven move through your obedience.